The world of mixed martial arts is evolving at a rapid pace, and at the center of this evolution is the UFC, a promotion that has dominated the sport for years, shining a light on the true grit and determination of its athletes. However, beneath the glimmering surface of championship belts and rising stars lies a deeper issue, one that has sparked heated debates among fans and fighters alike. Fighter pay, a contentious topic, has become more than just a number. It represents the very essence of fairness and respect in a sport that requires immense sacrifice, both physically and financially. Recent developments have brought this issue to the forefront, igniting a firestorm of discussion and litigation. A series of class action lawsuits have emerged, seeking to challenge the status quo and demand better treatment and compensation for fighters struggling to make ends meet. With the stakes higher than ever, these legal battles could reshape the landscape of MMA forever, potentially ushering in a new era of transparency, respect, and fairness for all athletes involved. As we delve into this topic, we will uncover not only the struggles faced by fighters, but also the steps being taken to hold the UFC accountable. The outcomes of these battles could redefine how the sport operates, ensuring that fighters receive their rightful share of the profits they help generate, while also providing them with essential benefits and security, paving the way for a healthier and more sustainable future in mixed martial arts. The $375 million settlement. In a landmark decision, the UFC has agreed to a staggering $375 million settlement in the ongoing Lee versus Zuffa lawsuit. This represents a significant moment for former fighters who have long endured concerns over compensation and contract rights. The settlement acknowledges the grievances of these athletes, many of whom have felt exploited within a system heavily favoring the promotion. Signing a contract with the UFC comes with the caveat that fighters relinquish their right to participate in collective legal actions. This effectively bars many from challenging their pay, creating a sense of helplessness among athletes who dedicate their lives to the sport. With this historic settlement, a new chapter may be unfolding in the MMA landscape. It could potentially lead to a re-evaluation of how fighters are treated and compensated, thus reshaping the future of mixed martial arts for years to come. However, it remains to be seen whether this will translate into genuine improvements in fighter pay structures and overall benefits. Fighters now await the settlement's ramifications, whether this will alter the status quo or merely be seen as a financial olive branch. Despite the challenges ahead, this settlement is a crucial step in the ongoing fight for fair treatment in the UFC. The broader implications of the settlement extend beyond mere dollars and cents, as this could spark further legal actions that may enforce more substantial changes within the organization. As we look ahead, the UFC must reckon with the fact that fighters who fuel their profits deserve equitable treatment and compensation for the risks they take inside the octagon. Changing fighters' futures. The landscape of mixed martial arts is on the verge of a significant transformation, as the ongoing legal battles promise to reshape the futures of fighters in the UFC. For years, athletes have struggled with the limitations and challenges imposed by the promotion's contractual agreements, which often leave them with little room for negotiation. However, the recent class action lawsuits could potentially herald a new era where fighters will gain a greater share of the revenue they help generate. Fighting in the UFC is no longer just about the competition. It's about the long-term viability of a career, and the future prospects of these athletes hang in a balance, leaving many to question how far the UFC is willing to go to protect its financial interests. As the tide begins to turn, fighters are starting to demand more respect and recognition for their hard work in and out of the octagon, while standing together in collective action. These legal proceedings represent a pivotal moment, a chance to not only address financial disparities, but to redefine relationships in the sport altogether. Fighters who were once seen as disposable are now coming into focus, as voices united in pursuit of fairness. The potential outcomes of these lawsuits might lead to better pay structures, improved benefits, and a more equitable landscape for all athletes, with passionate advocates rallying for change. The hope is that this momentum will lead to a future where fighters are not just participants in a sport, but valued partners in the UFC's success. The fight for fairness is just beginning, but the impact could resonate throughout the sport for years to come. The tough reality of MMA careers. Fighting in the UFC, while glamorous, often comes with harsh financial realities. Many fighters struggle to make ends meet, living paycheck to paycheck and juggling multiple jobs. Each bout requires immense dedication and sacrifice. Yet most fighters earn less than the average American salary. For many, this is not just a career, but a lifelong dream that can quickly turn into a financial nightmare. The UFC classifies its fighters as independent contractors, which means they are not entitled to the benefits that traditional employees receive, such as health insurance or retirement plans. This adds additional pressure, as fighters are not only responsible for their training, but also for their own financial stability. According to recent reports, approximately 43% of fighters earn less than $45,000 a year, a stark contrast to the promotion's escalating profits. Even with a successful career, like Conor McGregor or Paddy Pimblett, the payout distribution is highly uneven, rewarding only a select few while leaving many to fend for themselves. These fighters incur numerous expenses: managers, training camps, nutritionists, cuts into their already slim margins, and without sufficient sponsorship opportunities, their earnings are significantly diminished. Many are forced to live in gyms or rely on state support, while hoping for a breakout performance that changes their fortunes. The pressure to succeed is immense, and for the majority, the likelihood of achieving lasting financial security remains painfully low. Navigating this sport is like walking a tightrope, as fighters must balance the physical demands of training and fighting with the uncertain financial future that looms overhead. The economics of fighting. The world of mixed martial arts, MMA, is not only a popular spectacle, but also a complex economic landscape where fighters navigate a challenging market. The UFC, being the dominant promotion, forms the foundation of this ecosystem. They generate significant revenues while fighters face economic hurdles. Despite the UFC's profits hitting record highs, much of that wealth does not trickle down to the athletes. In 2023, the UFC reported over $1.3 billion in revenue, yet fighters only receive around 18.6% of that, leaving a vast disparity between the organization's earnings and fighter compensation, and compared to other sports leagues, where athletes typically share 50% of revenues. The UFC's distribution model raises important questions. Independent contractors. UFC fighters are responsible for their own expenses, including training costs, medical care, and management fees, all of which significantly reduce their net earnings. Many fighters struggle to make ends meet, often juggling multiple jobs just to sustain their fighting careers. For instance, data reveals that 43% of UFC fighters earn less than $45,000 annually, putting them in a financial position similar to the lowest average American salaries. And when coupled with the high costs of being a professional athlete, such as hiring coaches and nutritionists, the economic reality of fighters becomes starkly apparent. Fighting for bonuses and prize money only deepens this issue. Moreover, the introduction of exclusive sponsorship contracts, like the UFC's partnership with Reebok, has further limited fighters' income potential. As the landscape shifts through ongoing legal battles, fighters are increasingly advocating for better pay and equitable treatment, pushing for a more sustainable economic model that truly reflects their contribution to the sport. The role of management and sponsorships. Management plays a crucial role in the careers of UFC fighters, acting as intermediaries between athletes and the promotion. A good manager helps negotiate contracts, secure sponsorships, and find opportunities for their clients. while also protecting their interests. However, many fighters have found that managers often prioritize their profits, potentially undermining the athlete's long-term success and even their well-being. Sponsorships, once a vital revenue stream for fighters, have faced significant restrictions since the UFC's partnership with Reebok. This partnership eliminated individual sponsorship deals, forcing fighters to rely on fixed payouts, which can be significantly lower than what they would earn independently. As a result, many fighters are now at the mercy of the UFC's sponsorship agreements, which limits their earning potential and financial independence. For example, a top-tier fighter may command a hefty sponsorship fee, but the average fighter struggles to secure lucrative deals. Additionally, management often profits from the sponsorships as well, leading to further complications surrounding compensation and how much of the earnings actually reach the fighters. The financial landscape for UFC fighters is challenging, not merely due to fighter pay, but also because of the influence of management and sponsorship deals. To add to this complexity, the transition from personal sponsorships to a more corporate model has made it increasingly difficult for lower-tier fighters to gain visibility and earn an income that reflects their contributions to the sport. Determining which sponsors to align with and understanding how to maximize these relationships remains vital, especially as UFC athletes navigate this challenging ecosystem trying to secure their financial futures. The impact of legal actions. The ongoing legal actions against the UFC are poised to have a profound impact on the landscape of mixed martial arts. These lawsuits, particularly the recent class action cases, not only aim to address monetary disputes, but also seek to challenge the underlying structure of fighter compensation. As these legal battles unfold, they could compel the UFC to adopt more fair and transparent pay structures, which would alter the relationship between the organization and its athletes fundamentally. Historically, fighters have been labeled as independent contractors, which affords them little leverage when negotiating contracts or addressing grievances. The implications of these lawsuits could lead to enhanced rights for fighters, allowing them to negotiate better salaries, secure health benefits, and demand more favorable contract terms. Furthermore, the scrutiny these lawsuits place on the UFC's financial practices may expose the disparities in pay, as recent reports indicate that fighters receive a mere 18.6% of the organization's revenue, compared to other sports leagues that allocate around 50%. The growing discontent among fighters regarding their compensation has fueled these legal challenges, and the potential outcomes may raise awareness of not only pay issues, but also the treatment of athletes within the sport. As fighters unite, seeking justice and fair treatment, they are beginning to reshape the narrative around MMA and empower themselves. If successful, this legal movement could usher in a new era of rights for fighters, ensuring that their contribution to one of the fastest-growing sports in the world is recognized and compensated accordingly. Hope for change amidst challenges. In the world of MMA, amidst the turmoil of ongoing class action lawsuits, there lies a flicker of hope for fighters seeking better treatment. As they push back against the UFC's reign over their careers, these legal battles are about more than just compensation. They represent a struggle for respect, rights, and recognition. After years of being underpaid and marginalized, fighters are beginning to unite, rallying for a future that includes fairer contracts and a greater share of the revenue they help generate. As these lawsuits unfold, they expose the financial realities that many athletes face. With a staggering percentage living below the poverty line, the fight for fair pay has taken on a new urgency, especially as the UFC enjoys record profits, and athletes are left fighting for crumbs. The outcomes of these legal proceedings could not only change how contracts are structured, but also secure protections for fighters, ensuring their efforts are rewarded adequately. There's a growing awareness among fighters and fans that these issues matter. The pressure is mounting as public sentiment shifts in favor of fairness. Organizations are being called upon to prioritize the health and welfare of the athletes who make these events possible. In a sport known for its grit and resilience, fighters are finding their voice, and with it, the potential for transformative change. Every fight, every negotiation, and every public statement resonates louder, signaling a new era where fighters reclaim the power they deserve. As change looms on the horizon, the path ahead, as the landscape of MMA shifts towards the possibility of reform, fighters are at a crucial juncture where their futures could change dramatically, with many eyes turned toward the Johnson case, which holds the potential for groundbreaking shifts in the industry's structure and pay scale, particularly for those who have long been sidelined. And for those eager for increased recognition and fairer compensation, the stakes couldn't be higher, presenting an urgent opportunity to challenge the status quo and leverage collective strength. In an environment where the UFC's dominance often stifles competition, mushrooming profits give rise to discontent among fighters, leading to a realignment of priorities, where fair pay becomes a rallying point. Through legal advocacy, fighters are looking to redefine their worth and ensure that their voices are heard within the promotion landscape, taking a proactive stance against exploitative contracts and advocating for a more equitable distribution of revenues. The path ahead requires not just legal victories, but also unity among fighters to transparently navigate the complexities of negotiations with the UFC as challenges loom. It's vital for the fighters to remain steadfast, leveraging every avenue to secure a future that reflects their dedication and sacrifice. And as they prepare for what's next, there's a palpable sense of hope in the air, with the potential for monumental change resting in their hands, be it through further litigation or negotiating collective agreements that could serve as models for how contracts ought to be structured. Moving forward, the fight extends beyond the octagon into the annals of history, where the voices of fighters resonate louder than ever before, signaling a new dawn for MMA. The landscape of MMA is changing, and with it, the fate of countless fighters. The recent class action lawsuits against the UFC, including the historic $375 million settlement, have shed light on long-standing concerns about fighter pay, contract terms, and overall treatment by the organization. Fighters have bravely banded together to confront practices that have left many struggling to make ends meet. They've experienced firsthand the harsh realities of living as independent contractors, facing financial precarity and often sacrificing personal well-being for the pursuit of their goals in the octagon. The revelations from these lawsuits are not just about monetary compensation. They signify a potential shift in power dynamics between the UFC and its athletes. The ongoing Johnson case offers a chance to reassess fighters' rights and secure protections that could ensure fairer pay and improved working conditions moving forward. As the UFC grapples with these revelations, it is crucial for fans and fighters alike to recognize the implications of these changes. Advocating for fairness and transparency in the sport is vital, as the future of MMA depends not only on the legendary matches we witness, but also on the well-being of those who compete in them. In the fight for justice and equitable treatment, the outcome of these lawsuits could pave the way for a new era, where fighters have greater control over their careers and the opportunities they deserve. By standing united, fighters can challenge the status quo, reshape the landscape of MMA, and ensure that their contributions to the sport are recognized and compensated appropriately. As we look ahead, let's remain vigilant and support those fighting for change in the world of mixed martial arts.